So we were down 45% by the second week of March, and it wasn't good, and we was like, this is not going to be great. So come the 23rd to the 29th of March, we got down to 75% of normal turnover. Last week, we've now lost 85%. We're now trading at 15% of normal turnover. How's this for scary? Our Burke Street store typically, would turn over maybe $6,000 on a good day. We're turning over $500 at the moment.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. How good is a sandwich? I've been ridiculed my whole life because of my favourite sandwich. But I stand strong. An apple and cheese sandwich is essentially a Bogan's cheese platter. It's bloody brilliant. When we think of hospitality, often it's the pointy end where the average spend is high, and so too is the expectation. But what about everyday eats? The cafes serving breakfast, salads, sandwiches. What about these venues and these workers? Jackie Middleton, owner of Earl Canteen, spawned from the restaurant world and gifted Melbourne a form of everyday eats like never before. But like all of us, the pandemic changed everything. I've got Jackie with me now. How are you, Jackie?
I'm well, thank you so much. Look, who doesn't love a good sandwich? And I don't know if you've actually had it, Anthony, but we actually have a sandwich with your name on it. We actually have a brie and apple sandwich. It's like a cheese platter in a baguette. So, actually I should say I did now. I don't have one anymore. But, I'm good.
I am devastated that I've not had it. Do you know, I always go for the crackling and the pork whenever I've had a sandwich from you guys.
You're not alone. You're not alone. It's really interesting looking at the numbers. So you'll see our original Burke Street store that actually turns 10 years old in 3 weeks' time.
Wow.
We sell more pork belly sandwiches at that store than any other store, and I think it's because people habitually walk through the courtyard, and it's kind of like in this idea where people talk about how they walk into Macca's thinking they're going to buy a salad and then they order a Big Mac. Yeah. So that's what happens to us. They think they're going to walk in and try something different, or they're going to come in and have the whole bowl for a change or whatever, and they just look at our staff and they're pork belly sandwich, please.
Shit, maybe I've been kidding myself all this time. Maybe a pork belly with crackling sandwich is my favourite.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Listen, before we get to sort of what has happened and the impact, can you give us an idea of, paint a picture of Earl Canteen? What's the scale of the business?
Yeah, so as I said, we're turning 10 in 3 weeks. So Simon and I, my business partner and husband, we started this 10 years ago after dreaming up this crazy dream of, bringing restaurant quality food down to a simpler level where we could dream of actually being able to afford to open a hospitality venture. We'd only ever worked in restaurants. We'd only ever worked in restaurants before, and we saw people, not making much money and having multi-million-dollar fit-outs, and we knew we couldn't do that. So hence Earl was born. So come 10 years in cycle now, we'd got ourselves to 8 locations, so across the CBD, and we also did a collaborative venture with Coles Supermarkets last year. That's actually still running currently at the moment. And we actually have an airport store that's on the go that's meant to be opening later this year now as well. It's meant to be opening next month, but that's not happening now. So, yeah, we'd got to the point of 8 stores and about 80 staff, all under Simon and I. So amazing opportunity for us to do something that we're really passionate about and work for ourselves. An amazing opportunity to, do something simply and do it really well. We've worked hard for 10 years to get it to how it's grown. So
that's incredible. But obviously, like all businesses and a lot of us out there, the pandemic and the lockdown has impacted. Can you give us an idea of, when you first started noticing the impact and what impact it's had on your business?
Yeah, so I actually looked over the numbers again this morning just to get my head around it, because it's, as with everyone saying, it feels like March went for bloody ever. So I looked back and, the first week of March, the 2nd to the 8th of March, we had a really solid month. We had a really excellent February, as good as any February can be. We had, at the end of last year, we were actually, our busiest store, our Collins Place store, which actually unfortunately closed a couple of days ago, had its, record-breaking days day after day after day, which is bloody amazing for a 7-year-old business. I take my hat off to the team there. They're just bloody guns. So we'd had an excellent end of last year and beginning of this year, and beginning of March was looking good, and then we were watching what was going on overseas and we started to get a bit scared. We'd noticed that catering was dropping off a little bit. I'd failed to mention, we actually have a corporate catering business that we run from our headquarters in Cremorne, which is near the city. So we'd noticed that kind of business confidence was dropping off a little bit through catering, but the stores were still kind of fine. So we had a pretty good first week of March, and then the second week of March we dropped down 20%, and we were like, holy shit, what's happening here? So we'd had bushfires in January, and we'd really worried about that. We actually made a corporate donation of $6,000 to bushfires. My goodness. At the end of February, we had yum cha. We were so worried about our local yum cha places not doing very well. So we hosted a whole heap of our stuff to yum cha. End of February. So everything seemed great. The 12th of March came. The second week we were down about 20%, and we were like, whoa, something's going to happen here. And so we started talking about doing a post about safety in, view of coronavirus. I was really nervous about posting it, I have to say. I was really worried that people were going to start attacking us and saying, you're talking this up, you're scaremongering, blah, blah, blah.
What were you going to do with that post? Can you just run through what that was going to be?
Oh, no. So we posted it. It's up. It was essentially, we just said that we were, increased sanitation levels. We've communicated with the staff about, hand washing and all the usual stuff that we're already doing. And when Simon and I discussed it, I was like, I don't want to tell people that we're already not washing our hands or, doing the right thing and not wiping our nose on our tea towels and stuff like that. Like, we already operate at benchmark levels. Let's not scare people. And we're like, actually, people are really nervous. They're getting to be a bit scared. So we basically put an Instagram post up and shared lots of information about what we were doing, and we talked to our staff about it and to make sure people weren't nervous. So about handling coffee cups well and making people feel really comfortable about tap and go and those types of things.
Yeah.
So we put that post up, and it just went crazy. People were really supportive and saying thank you. And by the next day, and by the following Monday, every man and their dog had put out some type of COVID-19 policy.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like we're a little bit ahead of the trend and reading what was going on. I think looking back now, we're a bit of the canary in the coal mine, really. Because we're so corporate, we really could sense what was happening with our corporate customers, and they were a bit anxious. So that was the second week of March. The third week of March saw us down 45% to what we typically would be. So that's us going, holy shit, like, we're barely breaking even now. This is getting scary. Because, as you mentioned, that part of the industry we work in, it's really lean for percentages. So we keep on top of our numbers really acutely. So, I know to the cent how much everything costs us. We know we use clever apps and technology to make sure we're tracking our labour really well. And, at this stage we were already, cutting casual hours and things like this to keep on top of it and try and keep numbers where they should be, because we're just protecting the business, right? So we were down 45% by the second week of March, and it wasn't good, and we was like, this is not going to be great. So come the 23rd to the 29th of March, we got down to 75% of normal turnover.
Wow.
Last week we're trading at 15. We've now lost 85%. We're now trading at 15% of normal turnover. And that is only because we've managed to take our catering business that has have had zero orders for 3 weeks, and actually turn that into a home delivery model.
Wow.
If we didn't have done that, we'd had houses for scary. Our Burke Street store typically, would turn over maybe $6,000 on a good day. We're turning over $500 at the moment.
So a lot of the people you feed are workers, I guess.
Yeah, they are.
And I guess with everyone working from home, there's no one to feed.
No.
Even though your product is ready-made for takeaway.
Yeah, so predominantly our product is grab and go, ready to go, coffee, snacks, and we do a made-to-order offer for breakfast and for lunch as well. But the business confidence was getting shy, and we operate in really corporate environments. So 500 Burke, the original store, is underneath the NAB building and across the road from the courts. So we're talking about bankers and lawyers. So these people are the people that probably were the first that probably could start working at home, and we just saw people filing out of the city working from home, and all the white collar people were the first on board with that. And then that started shifting out to the rest of the masses not being in the city, so working from home really affected us, and we totally support everyone has to do what's right for the community. We want to be back in business as soon as we bloody can. So we want everyone to do the right thing. But, we noticed it really quickly. We saw friends that have, inner urban restaurants and cafes and things like that, and they're still trading kind of okay, I think, as best they can, especially with all the social distancing stuff that's happened in the last couple of weeks. They were still trading okay when we were already like, holy shit, this is terrible. So, at the end of March, we stood down pretty much most of our teams. So we were at 80 staff in February. Now we've got about, less than 10. So...
What was it like to do that?
Look, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say I actually haven't been into the city this entire month, just gone, because I've been really busy working with trying to get this home support pack stuff. So Simon has been in the city, and our operations manager, Alyssa, they have dealt with a heartbreaking situation of building up teams. We've had some people like Alyssa, our operations manager, has worked with us for 9 years. We've got people that have worked for us for more than 5, 6, 7 years, which is rare in hospitality, again, especially in, the cafe area and fast casual. I think they've had really horrible weeks, and, everyone responds to it differently. So there's some people that totally get it, and of course everyone's crying, right? So everyone's upset and everyone's devastated. Some people, absolutely fine with it. They're like, yeah, we understand you don't have any. Some people are upset. Some people are aggressive. Some people are threatening to sue us, but everyone responds in their own way. And I think that's something that it's really kind of led us to understand what the next part of our business really needs to be through this is a bit more being more supportive and thinking more community minded. I think we've always been very community minded as a hospitality entity anyway, but it really brings to in front of your very eyes when you see how much people are struggling with this in so many different ways, and how you just kind of, Simon and I and our team, we put on a brave face. That's what hospitality people do, right? We might be in cafes, but we still have this restaurant theatre about us that you're still smiling, we're still turning up there and, making coffees and, making people feel welcome.
When you're talking about being more engaged with the community, and I know that, you've set up the catering arm to do takeaways, but you also started working with Street Smart on a program.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that program and how people can get involved and sort of what it is doing?
Yeah. So, look, Street Smart is amazing. I've actually known Adam that started Street Smart in Australia since the very beginning, I think, when they launched it. So back in the days when I worked in restaurants, I was at a little McConnell restaurant called Mrs. Jones, and that's when Dine Smart first launched, and I think Mrs. Jones was one of the very first restaurants to be involved. So I met Adam a very long time ago. When Cafe Smart started about 7 or 8 years ago, we signed up, and we've been involved every year and doing every site doing that. So I can't tell you how much we've raised for them. I probably should have pulled the numbers up for you, but thousands of dollars every year. So we've always been there, and the Street Smart office is not far from where the Earl office is, so we'd sometimes pump into them getting coffees from the local cafe and stuff like that. So, anyway, Adam approached me, gave me a call and just said, hey, I've got this idea. And brought to my attention that a lot of the charitable places out there that had soup kitchens and stuff that were relying on food donations and time donations and like volunteers were essentially shut up shop because there's obviously no food donations coming in from the supermarkets that were getting flogged and from the food companies that were going, holy hell, what's going on here? And then suddenly, the silver, the over 60s that were most of the volunteers apparently are all staying home because they're worried about their health, rightly so. So, so suddenly these kitchens are all closed and there's all these charities that don't have food for these people that are probably even more vulnerable now in health and mental health ways than ever before. So he proposed that they could have a dual focus in regards to their charitable so actually Street Smart's funding this as a trial for now. So last week and this week they've actually donated money to a couple of charities for us and also for Ladra here in Melbourne. They operate 2 amazing pizza and pasta places, are doing this as well. So they've actually funded a charity to pay us to make them meals for these charities for this week and next week as a trial to try and get some further funding to get people to help these charities. So effectively we're making some sandwiches. We're doing 60 sandwiches a day for 2 different charities and feeding excellent sandwiches to some lucky people across inner southern Melbourne.
Right. And I know that off the back of that, what you're hoping to do is to get people involved as well, that people can actually purchase sandwiches. Is that right? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So, this was just a little bit of a brain dump. So, I'm really aware that I feel like we're just kind of asking for help all the time on socials now, and it's not in my nature. I'm used to helping people, not asking for help. It's really horrible. So I was like, how can we get people that are still doing their normal jobs, that are still buying our support packs and still love us and use our brand awareness and get them to help us and also have like a nice news story. I don't want to keep being the bearer of like, please help us. We need to keep, employing our staff. We need to keep feeding our families. So we've popped up a thing where you can actually buy some charitable sandwiches and pay it forward. So you can essentially buy 5 sandwiches at, $10 each, and essentially we'll contribute those to the charitable deliveries we're making. This is something that we're actually already had in the works going on anyway for our royalty program. We're very aware that people are very community focused and sometimes it's not all about them and their money, that they actually want to do good and pay it forward. So we actually already had this in the loop for our royalty, that instead of you earning free coffees from your points, like your loyalty points, that you would be able to buy coffees for other people or sandwiches or lunch for other people. So it makes sense, right?
Yeah, people need it more than ever right now.
Yeah, if we're already delivering to these charities, let's just chuck a few more sandwiches on if people want to pay for them. I'm very limited in what I can do at the moment. We're not wasting a single thing. Like any food that we are pushing to our use-bys, our staff are taking it home or we're using it for different creative ways, as you can see in our support packs. So, we're trying to be as smart about things as possible. So we just thought if people could have a chance to pay it forward with these sandwiches, then they might do that too. And I really hope Street Smart can get some legs on this and help other hospitality businesses because, they're supporting us. We're getting paid for doing these and, I hope to, lend them some good vibes and whatever it takes to try and help muscle their way into getting the government to support this with all the billions of dollars or whatever's going in to try and support our economy at the moment.
One of the things that you've brought from the restaurant world as well is that sense of supporting local. And I know a lot of producers have been pretty heavily impacted. Have you noticed the impact on the people that you deal with day to day in that sector?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so we use Pro-Cow milk, which is a brand down here. We've put milk and yogurt onto our onto our pantry list essentially, and that was to start mostly to be starting to be honest, Anthony, was because we had lots of milk and yogurt left from the stores to sell. We spoke to our rep, and he's essentially said that they went from 65 pallets of milk every Monday morning going up to 10.
Wow, it's extraordinary.
So think about all those farmers, think about all those cows that need to be milked, and there's no market for that. If I think about all of the, we proudly use restaurant quality ingredients. So think about all of the suppliers that aren't supplying to restaurants anymore. Where are they selling their stuff to? They're just not, right? I know that's what you're identifying too with oysters and all these types of things. But our suppliers are they're friendly about it still. We're in the lucky circumstance that we're continuing to pay our suppliers. We have to. We're paying our staff. We're lucky that we can. I'm pretty sure many other businesses that maybe weren't across their numbers before this happened aren't doing that. They can't.
What's next? You've sort of painted a pretty grim picture but you're still maintaining business and you're still paying staff and you're still getting food out there. What does Earl Canteen look like in 6 months' time? Will you still have those stores, or can you paint a picture for us?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I wish I could. I'm not sleeping much. I'm dreaming about this most nights at the moment. I don't know. It depends on how long this is going to go for, really, and that's what everyone's saying. We don't have any answers yet about what happens with rents. So we're fortunate that most of our sites are in pretty corporate environments, and our landlords are big companies that will have to have a corporate response, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
If we're dealing with smaller landlords, which a lot of other probably hospitality people are doing that are a little bit more cowboy-like, as they can tend to be, that's going to be harder conversations. I'm hoping that we'll get some type of rent freeze, which means that we can lock up the stores like we have already locked up most of the stores, all of the stores except for one, lock them up, strip them out, and hope that we can reopen in 3 months, 6 months, whatever it's going to be. The catch is too, even if we waved a magic wand and it would be like it was in February, it's not going to be like that, right? I'm not going to have the teams. Everyone's going to forget the recipes. We're going to be redoing training. We're going to be a whole other bloody season, a whole other, re-employment of casuals. People have had, everyone's having, midlife, corona life crises, right? So it's going to be a totally different kettle of fish that we're dealing with when we get to reopen. And that's just talking about some really basics that come off the top of my head now. So look, we hope if we can get some reasonable action from landlords that we can reopen stores. We hope to keep the production kitchen running. Mostly it's about staff morale and keeping some type of employment model ticking over. We're definitely not making any money off this. If you see what you get for our support back, it's a whole lot of stuff for not very much money. It's really just an opportunity for us to keep some people employed. People really want to work. That's one of the bloody amazing things about hospitality, is that people really want to work. Simon, he's a runner. He can't sit around the house. We've worked in hospitality since we're 15. We don't sit around the house. So sitting around the house and thinking that we're not going to go out for a coffee, we're like, holy shit. So we're hoping that we can keep home deliveries going for now. We will put the stores on ice and see how well the landlords play over the coming months about whether we are in a position to reopen those. But, we've got sites that we've got, fit outs in. So I don't know what even happens with that. This is a whole new world. I wish I knew.
One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is that because you've been so incredibly successful and you've always managed to find solutions for things. And I guess for everyone out there, I just wondered, what sort of solutions are there at the moment? And just in a general sense, what can people do to help?
What can people do to help? They can, if they're in one of these lucky industries where they're still chugging along, maybe they're busier than usual. bloody good luck to them. If they've got a budget to go out and eat, typically keep buying from their local cafes and restaurants and stuff. Get the deliveries, if they, keep playing their cleaner if the cleaner's not coming to the house. Keep playing all the things that they usually have in their budget. Keep doing those things because that will help us all. Just keep smiling. I really feel like these masks are hiding, again, maybe it's just my hospitality nature. I feel like I'm walking around. My daughter's still going to daycare. She's 4 and I don't really have any choice but to send her there. And I feel really sorry for the daycare staff because I really sense that they're worried, everyone's anxious and people aren't smiling on the street when I walk her into daycare. A 4-year-old doesn't understand. People are scared and, people aren't smiling. They're not. So, put a smile on your dial. It's, it's, I guess, hospitality, fake it till you make it, put the show on. Keep supporting the local businesses. As I said, we had a deal with Coles and we're, operating a store inside a Coles supermarket and, that's pretty much fallen off the cliff too because people are there to get some basics and go home again and huddle. But keep buying from your local small market, your butcher, your local baker, those types of things and support those people because hopefully they'll still be there when you want to be able to use them again in the future because if you don't, they won't be. We can't be.
Yeah, and we don't want to imagine that sort of world.
Bloody hell no, I don't want to. It's horrible, just watching the night when they closed the restaurants and ScoMo said, that's it, it's takeaway only. We were just devastated. How can this be? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're onto the right thing. I mean, remembering that the sun's still shining and, you can step outside and, well, maybe onto your balcony or your backyard if you're lucky enough to have one.
Yeah.
And breathe the air and, it's if you can find humour somewhere, it certainly helps.
Oh, absolutely. I'm that crazy mum in the car at the moment that's listening to bad music and singing and dancing in the car with the kids. It gives me some sanity.
Well, I like bad music too, so I'm okay with that.
I think we like different types of bad music.
Yes, no doubt. Hey, listen, Jackie, always great to catch up and thanks so much. And let's keep in touch and speak a bit later in the year and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your support about helping us so much with this. We really, my industry's at its knees. We've been not good for a while, but this is a whole other level of stuff. But I think we'll push on. We bloody have to, don't we? So look, we love what we do, so we don't have a choice. I've only ever done this. This is the only industry I've ever worked in. So hey, I'll find a way to make sure that there's some type of way that we can keep serving customers and smiling at the end of this when we all get out of our houses again.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Cheers.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe, isolate and be well.